So, Showgirls was written by Joe Eszterhas and is the second project he has done alongside acclaimed director Paul Verhoeven. The writer came up with the idea for the movie while on vacation in Hawaii, came back to Beverly Hills, and was given an advance of $2 million to write the script based on the idea that he scribbled on a napkin. Eszterhas has made several pulpy, sexy dramas up until this point, like Flashdance and Basic Instinct, which had made him the highest paid screenwriter of his time. Later on, the writer received an additional $1.7 million once it was picked up as a movie. This is not the first time that Eszterhas and Paul Verhoeven had come together for a film. They had actually worked together on the wildly popular film Basic Instinct 3 years prior. And so the men, perhaps living off of the high of Hollywood success and possibly a lot of cocaine, allegedly, the men took their chance to strike gold once again. In a strange way, they kind of did, question mark, by creating one of the most iconically and pretty universally disliked at the time movies ever made. Perhaps one of the other controversial aspects of the film was their interesting choice, I should say, of leading lady who was American darling to some degree, Elizabeth Berkley. Before this, Berkley was known as a character on Saved by the Bell, an late 80s, early 90s family-friendly sitcom. Suddenly, the literal child people had grown up with had seemingly skipped a few steps in the process of adulthood and went gung-ho into one of the most raunchy, widely released movies of the decade. One can only imagine that this was another factor in the understanding of the movie's criticism. All of this combined into Showgirls being a widely known failure. A box office bomb, torpedo, casualties everywhere. It was terrible. Box office, it made about a little under $38 million, though the production cost itself was $45 million, so tank. And this is pretty much undoubtedly due to the movie's universally negative ratings, and that combined with this NC-17 viewer rating probably didn't help much either. The Puritans always ruin everything, don't they? With that said, the movie won plenty of awards, just none that it probably wanted, namely Razzies. It won Worst Film at the Dallas-Fort Worth Film Critics Association, Worst Picture for the Golden Raspberry Awards 1995, Worst Actress also, Worst Picture of the Decade from the Raspberries. They swept it. It was great. Which, side note, sounds like a fun time. I feel like that's somewhere that I really should, I want to go to the Razzies. Who's gonna invite me to the Razzies? I would love it. It would give me new things to watch. Somebody take me to the Razzies. I should sorry, side note, getting sidetracked. Anyway, upon the film's sour reception, Eszterhas was quoted as saying that they, quote, clearly made mistakes. Clearly, it was one of the biggest failures of our times. It failed commercially, critically, it failed on videotape, it failed internationally, unquote. He's also been quoted in regretting the most egregious part of the film and the incredibly sudden and explicitly violent sexual assault scene. MacLachlan, who played Zach in the movie, Kyle MacLachlan, he also recalled seeing the film at its premiere, and that was the first time he had ever seen it in its entirety, if I recall correctly. And he was, quote, absolutely gobsmacked. It was horrible. Horrible. The movie was an insipid failure that shocked critics and audiences alike. Again, Eszterhas and Verhoeven were very well-renowned, very respected writers and directors. So for it to come out and be so bad truly shocked the masses. Got a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 64 critic reviews. 37% of audiences also hated it. And that's with over 50,000 people rating it. So with such a world-renowned writer and director, How then were they able to make a movie so wholly misguided and arguably bad? And beyond that, why are there still so many people that still like the film anyway?